So we'll make a start. I declare the council meeting CL24 bar 11 open and welcome everyone here. Please note the meeting is being live streamed and the consequences of that. I shall open with the usual karakia. Whakatau mai te waura, whakawātea te naru, whaiti tinana, ki ea ai ngā mahi. I have an apology for lateness from Deputy Mayor Scrimgeour. Can I have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Ray, Councillor Thwaites. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. I don't believe there's any late items. Declarations of interest. Does anyone have a declaration of interest? No? Okay. There are no public excluded items, so we'll move straight on to our public forum. I recognise the gentleman has just come in there. So, Mr. Dawson-Boyd, if you would like to come to the front, and I think Penella will help you with your microphone.
Well, thank you, councillors, for allowing me to speak, and I would just like to thank especially Councillor Alan Soul, who's been a real help and a really good councillor to us and sympathetic to our cause. My name is Dawson Boyd. We have a family-owned and operated motel business at 40 Seaforth Road, Waihi Beach. Business is very seasonal there. Waihi Beach over the winter time is pretty dead. We only have perhaps 1 or 2 rooms occupied per week over the winter. And since COVID lockdowns, businesses, especially in the hospitality sector, are facing many challenges. We've seen a drop-off in clientele as many families are finding soaring food prices and increased mortgage costs exhausting the family budget. And in addition, we ourselves are facing increased costs. According to the Kiwibank Chief Economist Jared Kerr, in September he stated that the country is effectively in recession that's lasted 2 years. So this brings us to the problem we're facing. As a motel business, we are experiencing a 33% rise in our total rates over the last year. If you see on your, I provided a copy of rate demands. The rate demand this year is, the gross rate demand is $16,327. Last year it was $12,196, which is an increase of 33% or $4,130 odd. However, to offset that, last year we did get a rebate on the multiple sewage connections of about $3,000, and according to Steve Meredith, he said a similar amount will be forthcoming this year, but it hasn't been calculated yet. So still with $3,000 rebate on the multi-pan sewage connections for both years, it'll still be an increase in rates of about 33%. Just if you see on your rates demand, the actual total cost of the sewage charges this year is for $7,411. When you add the 6 plus the 6 units plus the house, it totals $7,411. Last year it was all included in one, so there were 7 connections, and that came to $5,810 total. So there's about $1,400 extra there. Now, the other extraordinary charge we are faced with for this 2024 year is the exponential increase in the roading rate. And if you see in 2023-24 year, the roading rate was $1,795. And this year it's increased to $5,997. That's a 234% increase over last year, or $4,200 extra that we're faced with paying. Now, I realise that council have altered the roading rate for industrial and commercial businesses, and I'm not sure how much it's about, triple or so that it was last season, and the reason being given is that these businesses attract heavy vehicles and cause a lot more road damage, and so should meet the cost of that road damage. However, as a motel, even though we're commercial, we don't attract heavy vehicles, and we've been sort of roped into that category of having to pay these exorbitantly high costs of roading rates. And this brings me to the point that there is provision for a rebate on sewage connections. And I would propose to the council that there needs to be a rebate introduced by council to compensate commercial property owners that do not attract heavy vehicles, and that should not be lumbered with this excessive roading surcharge that has drastically impacted our business when we come to pay these rates. So that's what I'd propose to the council, that they adopt a rebate system for these properties that are not causing the damage to the roads. And furthermore, I'd like the council to consider this, that the roading rate coefficient is uniform across all properties like it used to be, and that it's not based on land value but based on the capital value. And the reason I say this is that if you look at the 2024-25 rates demand, I've got a capital value of $1,960,000 and a land value of $1,690,000. Now, the land value is, in my opinion, is proportionately too high. It only leaves an improved value of $270,000 for the improvements, and that's meant to be the value of 6 motel units and a house, a 2-storied house. And so that is why our roading rate is so high. We've got an exorbitantly high value on the land in relation to the capital value, plus we're faced with the increased coefficient for the roading rate.
Okay, Mr. Boyd, is there much more to go? We're getting there to the end of the 5 minutes, so,
Okay, can I just wind up now?
yeah, please do, yes.
Okay. I'd just like to finish off by saying that the commercial industrial properties contribute so much to the local economy. They provide jobs to residential ratepayers, plus the money earned is largely spent in our region, and the last thing the council wants to do is penalise the district's businesses. And if anything, council wants to foster and encourage them, and my position is that if the roading budget requires it, then all properties contribute by way of a uniform roading rate as a multiple of capital value. And if every property paid perhaps $100 or $200 extra a year, then we wouldn't have these aberrations for a commercial business like myself that is faced with a $4,200 increase in roading rate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd. Do we have any questions? I can see Councillor Wickers and Councillor Coxhead after.
Yeah, good morning. Hey, you were talking about the valuations. Did you challenge the QV valuation when you received it in regard to the split between?
Yes, no, I did not, because the problem is I was not aware. Well, I should have been aware, but I wasn't aware that suddenly the roading rate would be altered to such an extent of and I just looked at the capital value and I thought, oh yeah, that's about right. It's slightly less than what I paid for it in 2019, the property, and I thought that would be around right, but I should have actually, in hindsight, has challenged it, and that would have alleviated the high land value. I think they would have brought that down and brought the improvements up, I'm sure. And it's my fault, yeah.
Councillor Coxhead.
Just to clarify, the 7 units on the sewage charge, so it's a motel of 6 units, correct?
It's a house and
Yep.
6 units in the motel, so it makes 7
Yep.
sewage connections.
Thank
yes.
you.
Any further questions for Mr. Boyd? No? Okay. Well, thank you very much. Some of these issues have been discussed quite significantly at the long-term plan deliberations, particularly around the differential. But you raised some interesting points that we can consider when we next look at rating and next annual plan. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and thank you for sharing. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, moving on. So we're now going to Community Board minutes for receipt, starting with the minutes of the Katikati Community Board held on the 18th of September on page 8. So I can have a mover and seconder to receive those minutes, please. Councillor Thwaites and Councillor Henry. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Minutes of the Amokura Community Board meeting on the 24th of September. Councillor Granger. Councillor Thwaites, thank you. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Minutes of the Te Puke Community Board meeting on the 26th of September. Councillor Wickers, Councillor Daly. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Minutes of the Makatu Community Board meeting held on the 1st of October. Councillor Ray, Deputy Mayor Scrimger. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Minutes of the Waihi Beach Community Board meeting held on the 7th of October. Councillor Henry, Councillor Soul. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Minutes of the Projects and Monitoring Committee meeting held on the 3rd of September. Councillor Thwaites, do I have you? Yep. And Councillor Coxhead. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Minutes of the Audit, Risk and Finance Committee on the 3rd of September. Councillor Granger, Councillor Coxhead. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Minutes of the Strategy and Policy Committee meeting held on the 12th of September. I'll move those. Councillor Granger, second. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Minutes of the council meeting on the 26th of September. I'd like to make a correction here, which is on page 79, and that is that audit referred to the deliverability of the capital projects, not the durability. So with that correction, I will move that. Deputy Mayor Scrimgeour, second. All in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. And lastly, in the minutes receiving or approving section, we have minutes of the Strategy and Policy Committee meeting on the 24th of October. I'll move those. Councillor Granger seconds. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. So, moving on to page 103 and the first of our reports. So, we've got the Waikato Local Authority Shared Services, otherwise known as COLAB, and we are receiving their annual report, essentially. So, Sarah.
Good morning, thank you. Yes, so the purpose of this report is to receive the COLAB annual report for the year ended 30 June 2024. Happy to take as read, and if there's any questions, we can forward them on to the appropriate people.
Councillor Joyce.
$720,000 loss. What caused it, please, and how are we making sure that doesn't happen again?
So the main reason for this loss was due to the fact that they decided to use cash reserves as part of their income this year, which in turn reduced the member charges.
That saves everyone money, I guess. Councillor Wickers, did you have a question? No?
Yeah, sure. Just the general opinion in regard to this, this is still in our best interest to be a part of this?
I think it's a really good question. A number of their projects are Waikato specific. There's definitely some benefits that we are utilising, particularly around procurement, some of the asset management services that they provide. They themselves, at their annual general meeting in a couple of weeks' time, are going to be talking about their purpose and future. I think it's a good opportunity, as we do. Adele and I recently met with their CE just to talk about their service offerings. So we're sort of asking that question ourselves a little bit, and we'll work through that in the next few months.
Thank you. Councillor Coxhead.
Just to follow on from that, so are we measuring our cost savings from them?
It's not so much cost savings as services that we can get that we receive from them. So they are the purpose that they have. So actually, sorry, a bit fumbly there. I'm going to step back. The reason that we have invested time and want to be part of COLAB is because they provide consolidated services and shared services in a way that the Bay of Plenty LAS don't. Bay of Plenty LAS singly focus on procurement, and the main advantage that we get from BOPLAS is the savings and cost of insurance. We do take advantage of the procurement that the Waikato LAS provide. I don't know that we have accumulated and looked at the savings. We definitely look at that on a cost-by-cost basis when we're going to purchase something. We have a look at them as a partner and go, yeah, we can get it cheaper there or we can't, and make a decision. I don't know that we've actually gone through and worked out the accumulated saving in that process, but I'm just going to glance at Adele for a second. No, we haven't. We have not for COLAB.
But I guess we could assume that it's a net positive in terms of cost savings.
I think we can, and there are a number of initiatives that we're working with them on that we think will have advantage in the future. One of them that Alison is leading for us is the partnering up of building consent functions, and you'll know recently that Crown has come out and said that they are looking at that as a model and an expectation for the future. So we've already kicked that work off with them. Yeah, so there are a number of projects that we definitely see advantage in.
Okay. Oh, Councillor Murray-Bench.
So follow on from that, Mr. Holyoke, you're doing an assessment of the benefits of it. When do you expect that to be completed and reporting back to us?
I hadn't actually put any thinking into that, councillor, but so let me think about that and come back to you.
Okay, so I don't see any further questions. So there are two recommendations there, receive the report and to receive the annual report from CoLab. So do I have a mover and seconder for those, please? Councillor Ray, Councillor Wickers. Assume there's no further debate. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. So moving on to page 154, we have the LGFA annual report to receive. Any questions on this one, please? Oh, sorry, Sarah, did you want to introduce it at all?
Yes, so we will take the report as read and happy to take any questions.
Councillor Wickers.
Just a repeat of the previous question, just the general opinion in regard to us being involved in this.
Sarah, I think that, Adele, there you are.
I can respond to that. So the purpose of being a member of the local government funding agency is in relation to getting cost reductions in our borrowings. They are able to achieve the highest rating in the whole country, equivalent to Treasury, because one of the shareholders is Treasury themselves. So we do get significant savings by actually being part of this group, and we are a shareholder as well, a 7% shareholder. And yeah, the savings are quite significant to us.
And just to follow on from that, so is this sort of the same argument in regard to a CCO as the water services? Is that more secure type investment because of the governance? Thank you.
Sorry. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Right, Councillor Coxhead. Yeah.
Just following on from that, actually, so here we go, a lot of following on today. So if we were to borrow money from the bank as opposed, and let's say it was competitive with the LGFA, what would the bank be taking as security? Is it the same as what LGFA takes in terms of the rate income, or is it something different?
Through the chair, can I just recommend, if you're wanting us to do the analysis, that we take that as a separate request. We won't be able to respond to all the ins and outs at this point in time.
Okay, so if there's no further questions, I can't see any. This is just to receive their annual report. I would note the tremendous growth in the borrowings that they have achieved for councils. I'm happy to move those two recommendations. Do we have a seconder, please? Councillor Murray Benge. Assuming there's not more debate, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. So moving on to the Bay of Plenty Local Authority Shared Services, or BOPLAS, and again we are receiving the report and the annual report. Are there any questions to this one? Do you want to repeat your same question again, Councillor Wickers?
Yes, please.
So I think that's around the bit. Well, would you like to repeat it if you want to?
Yeah, just once again, the general opinion of us being involved.
And Adele, would you like to comment on that?
Through the Mayor, so as the Chief Executive has pointed out, this is primarily focused around procurement, and we have got a number of joined up initiatives, of which our biggest benefit does come through from insurance. We've obviously been a member of BOPLAS for quite some time, and they do track their savings, and we do get effectively an annual report back from them about what it is, what savings we've achieved by being part of that group.
Thank you. I did have a question around the, it appears that BOPLAS handled the MSD crime prevention money that was given to the Bay of Plenty. It seems to be, I think it was around $1 million. Can you tell me what benefit our district got from that $1 million, which, what was it used for in our area?
Through you, we got 100,000 from that. And so we've used that on a camera up by Tech Park because it was particularly expensive up there. And we've also saved some of that money to use for potentially moving our monitoring systems from Tarnex over to the TTOC.
Thank you.
I just want to add to, I guess, Adele's and Kerry's answers on that. I think there's very little value in being a member of BOPLAS. We could actually achieve the savings through procurement, through other means, and the insurance costs we could easily get ourselves just by working with the insurance companies. I don't think there is a lot of value. I think the value in, if there is a value in BOPLAS, it's a better instruction from us as councillors is what we expect from them. And if that is around shared services, then we need to be more explicit than that, about that through the SOI setting expectations process with them.
I think that's something to note for the future, but thank you, John. Are there any further questions? Councillor Murray-Bench.
Could I just have a query about the last 100,000 that you referred to, sir? And you made some statement towards the end, but I couldn't figure out what you were saying. Could you repeat it?
So currently our CCTV camera network's monitored through Tarnex, a company in Te Puke, and we are looking to move the monitoring of it from Tarnex potentially to TTOC, which is the Tauranga Transport Operations Centre.
And just
Which, sir, is an extremely efficient one as well.
And just to clarify, because I didn't quite hear, was it the CCTV in Tech Park, did you say that was paid for?
That's right, yes.
Right, okay, thank you.
On the highway by Tech Park.
Right. Okay.
Does that mean that Tenex, what are they doing then? Have they sold out?
No, they haven't sold out. They're still going. We've got a contract with them till the end of June next year. But we're looking at possibilities for our monitoring, and we feel like we might get better service from TTOC for our agencies.
Okay. Thank you, Kerry. So with that, do we have a mover and seconder to receive the BOPLAS annual report? Councillor Joyce, seconded by Councillor Henry. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you, Sarah. So moving on to page 265, which is the recommendation to adopt the Easter Sunday shop trading policy. So I think we've got Emily, is that you? Oh no, Rebecca.
Kia ora, you have the paper in front of you regarding the adoption of the Easter Sunday shop trading policy. I will take the report as read and answer any questions.
Thank you, Rebecca, and noting this is a recommendatory from the Strategy and Policy Committee. Do we have any questions? Councillor Murray-Bench.
Happy to move it, sir, when you're ready.
Thank you very much. It looks like Councillor Sol's ready to second that one as well. Is there any debate on this?
I'd like to speak to it because I thought it was a very good consultation process, and giving people the freedom to decide, I think, is really worthwhile. I think from a religious point of view, I think that's taken into account as well. So I thought, job well done.
Thank you. I was wholeheartedly agree with that. So I don't see anyone else to speak. So with that, I'll put the motion with those 4 recommendations. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Next item is the proposal to lease the Omokura Sports Ground Recreation Reserve building. That's the renovated old pavilion. So Kerry to introduce this one, and we're on page 273.
Good morning, councillors. I'll take the report as read and I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Kerry. I have Councillor Granger.
Well, I would just like to say, sir, that this is something which has been a bit of a disappointment in terms of that building. We spent 160 thousand, I think it was, of the our Town Centre Development Fund on picking it up, moving it and getting it away, out of the way of the tennis club and what have you. And staff and the contractors made a fantastic job of tidying it up and flashing it up, reciting it. And then it effectively sat basically unused, which was a disappointment to the community. And so this idea to put it out to public consultation was, for Elise, was a grand idea. And as those of you who've read the report will see that the Mokoroa Football Club put up a very, very good case. So I fully support the recommendation from the Community Board to accept their recommendation for leasing it to the football club.
Thank you, Councillor Granger. Councillor Coxhead.
I would imagine both causes, or both people wanting to lease the building are very worthy causes. But I just had a question around the area of reserve use would require to be reclassified as a local purpose reserve to support the activity of it being an after-school care facility. So I just wondered what was involved with that.
With the reclassification?
Yes.
Yep, so that's why I've brought my Reserves Act specialist in here with me. So Joanne, for those of you that don't know, Joanne Hinn is Legal Property Officer for Reserves, so they're just asking about the reclassification process.
All right. Yes, so hello everybody. When you have a classification of a reserve, you can have different types. So you can have a recreation reserve, as it is in this case, and local purpose reserves, which allow different activities and more sort of community use type activities. So to reclassify, the Act requires you to publicly notify and ask for submissions on that change because of the change of use. The Act would like the public to have a say in that change. So in order to do that, we would have to go out for public consultation.
So cost-wise, it's fairly minimal. It's just a bit of a time thing, isn't it, really?
Yeah, so I mean, you'd get submissions in and then council would have to have a look at submissions.
How long do you think roughly normally? Just
a month, yeah, so a month's consultation, so advertisement in the paper. Yes.
It's a bit of a process, so in terms of meetings and receiving the feedback and so on, isn't it?
Yes, so after the feedback stage, staff would go through that and then put recommendations back to council who make a decision.
Great.
Yes.
Okay, Councillor Mowbenge.
Several questions, thank you, Kerry. Tell me, nobody disputes that soccer is really a popular game out at Mokoroa, especially on this field, but it's shared with athletics, and I saw no comment about the athletics involvement with the leasing arrangement at all. Could you answer that one, please? Did they not make any submissions?
No, they didn't make any submissions. We received 2 submissions. One was from the Mokoroa Football Club and one was from Time Out.
Right, and the second question is for the soccer club, the facility is plain, and so where do they have their changing rooms?
They don't.
Right. And the toilets?
The public toilets under the pavilion.
So the purpose of this is, so that it really is a conflicting issue because quite clearly the principal of the Mokoroa Point School is arguing for the aftercare facilities and before school facilities, and desperately there's a need. And the deputy principal has got children playing soccer and obviously wants the soccer to actually survive. So I'm not opposed to that, but I am concerned for the after school and morning school when parents are having to work. It isn't an option for them today. Our houses are expensive and they've got to work. And so what do they do with their children? And so the school can't cater for them, so there's nowhere for them to go. And if they have, is there anywhere on the peninsula that
Councillor Mowbenge, I think we're getting off the topic of this decision on
no,
leasing.
no, sir, I'm not, because the issue is after school and before school, that was one of the options, And I was at the board meeting, and there really wasn't any debate about that at all, about the need for that. But when you read the submissions, quite clearly that's what comes through. There is a need. And so I think it's something that the community committee could look at, and I think we have to do that.
Thank you, Councillor Mowbench. John wants to have a word on this one.
Yeah, I was at the community board meeting when this was discussed, and they did. I think the good thing, you mentioned athletics. I think the great thing about the football club, and specifically Ben Bell, the service he runs, he currently looks after the diary and the bookings for the other part of the pavilion and this one. They're very active in working with other community groups and providing access to them. So I don't think that we should assume that it's going to be for the exclusive use of the football club. They do provide, they will make it available to other parts of the community. The school actually supported both. Well, I think that they did support both, and I do understand the need for childcare. Childcare. There are a number of commercial childcare providers on the peninsula, and the Wainwright Foundation is a provider, a commercial provider of childcare services. So I think that the community can be catered for.
Okay, Councillor Thwaites. I'm not sure he moved it, but well, can you use your mic, yes?
I have suggested to Mr. Wright another venue that he could look at that he hadn't thought of in Mokoroa, so all is not lost for him. So, and yes, I did sort of move them, so thank you.
So yeah, I'm happy to second that. 1, 2 and 3.
Okay, first we'll finish off the questions. Councillor Henry.
I wouldn't support to lease to the school if that was going to be an option. In terms of the regulations around that area there, you'd have to build a fortress there for it to be a legal entity to contain the children, and it would not be an option. So I fully support the decision that you have fallen on within the perimeters of thank you. So.
Thank you, Councillor Henry. Were there any other questions at this point? Councillor Daly.
Well, I think the CEO might have answered the question. The booking system, that's going to be managed by the Schools Out organisation rather than council?
It's the football club.
So currently the pavilion is booked through a booking system called Space to Go, which is some of our other facilities across the Rahi are also booked through. But the football club will manage it going forward because they'll have the actual lease on the building.
So it's not considered to be a conflict of interest and should still have equal access to other groups?
I believe so, yeah.
It's not equal access. This is leasing to the football club, so they get to decide. But I would imagine that during the weekdays, they're probably not super busy and would be happy to let other groups use it. That's the indications we've had so far. So, yeah.
And just in light of the comment about the changing rooms, has there been any suggestion that they might maybe wall off some part of that building for changing rooms?
No, I don't believe they will.
Okay, I think we've got to the point of the debate. So, and this is actually an actual question. Murray, did you want to say anything?
Clearing up the changing rooms. The changing rooms are under the pavilion. They always have been. They still are. That's where the football club will change. So.
Okay. So we've got a mover and a seconder in Councillor Granger and Councillor Thwaites, and that is for recommendation 1 to receive it, 2 that's low significance, 3 that's exercise its powers, and that's the first 3. And I guess you're not moving number 4. Okay, so it's 1, 2, and 3. Is there any debate on this? Councillor Mowbench.
Well, I think, sir, that it's really important to say that Western Avenue is a very fine sporting facilities, And I think the tennis is well catered for, and once the steps go in to get up. But what was really quite exciting was the passion from the football organisers themselves. And they seemed to be as well organised as any group you could wish for. So it's exciting to be able to support it, but I really am disappointed that we can't fit in the aftercare facilities as well. And that's the dilemma that I think is the confusing piece. So we'll work to make sure that we find somewhere in Mokoroa, and if Councillor Granger has got an idea, we'll pursue it, sir. So I enthusiastically support the recommendations, but reluctantly I'm sad that we have not got a cure for after-school facilities at this stage.
Thank you, Councillor Murray Benge. Councillor Thwaites, was it? Yes.
Yeah, just briefly, fully support this. It's a well-organised outfit. They are covering the overheads. They are paying the insurance. It's the model for the whole district to really follow, to have such a setup like that. I just wish in Te Puna I didn't have to pay the insurance on the sports club there. But anyway, that's, I fully support this. Thank you.
Great. Okay, well, I don't see any further speakers, so with that, I shall put the motion for recommendations 1, 2 and 3. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you, Kerry. So next item is on page 322, and that's the revocation for local purpose reserve, bracket segregation strip status, Maniatutu Road safety improvements.
I'd just like to take the opportunity to introduce Wendy O'Neill to you. Wendy's back to council. She was here previously and she's come back in the legal property officer role.
Great. Well, welcome, Wendy, and we look forward to hearing a little bit more from you. So I'll leave it to you to introduce this one. Thank you.
Morena, Your Worship, councillors, nice to be back. This is a historic matter relating to a road safety improvement we did in 2019 on Maniatutu Road on 2 corners. The landowner provided us the 2 areas of land to do safety improvements, and in return for that we were going to carry out a land exchange which involved 2 pieces of local purpose segregation strip, which are that wide. Segregation strips are put around boundaries of properties to prevent physical and legal access onto dangerous areas of road. And in order to facilitate the land exchange, we need to carry out a revocation process under the Reserves Act to remove the land reserve status. So I'm happy to take any questions. If there's any confusion around the areas, because of the width of them, they're very hard to actually see on the attachments. So I'm quite happy to bring them up on screen if you need me to actually show these.
Yes, I think I'd appreciate seeing exactly what's being done, the work's being done. But I would just say now, is it the case that the segregation strips are just no longer required?
That's correct. With realignment, it's now safe to actually enter onto that section of the road over that property, and facilitate the land exchange. We need to remove the segregation strips to do the road stopping, to provide the road stopping land, and segregation strip is a land for land exchange.
Yep. And perhaps on that, can you explain the exact nature of the improvements that were made that allows this, that means that access is now safe?
Oh, I love this. So, this is section 4, and it's only 24 centimetres wide. You can imagine it's very hard to show. This is section 6 along here. The realignments has occurred around here. We've taken out 2 very dangerous corners. So these are the 2 that are requiring the revocation at this particular point of the process. Would you like to, could you just move on to the next plan, please?
I'm just, Wendy, I just looking at that, and can you perhaps explain the exact nature of the realignment? Because there's some pretty significant curves there remaining. And actually maybe Deputy Mayor Scrimgeour, who's a local, might provide some from first-hand knowledge as well.
I have to be honest, Your Worship, that back in 2019 I wasn't here, so I wasn't privy to the actual safety improvements that were carried out by the engineers.
Deputy Mayor Scrimgeour, would you like to comment?
Yeah. Well, I'm struggling with the 2019. I know that a meeting took place with landowners in 2019 when I was overseas, and so I wasn't party to that. It took another 2 or 3 years at least before any works took place. I'm struggling with the description of realignment of the road. There was some widening took place, but I wouldn't have considered there was any realignment. I do have a question though, that right in the right-hand corner at the top there, so just understanding the explanations, the gate there. So are you saying that that is, I heard two different things, that, so I'm not sure whether they applied to that or not. One, that it was now safe to enter, and one that removing the segregation strip status was saying it's no longer possible to enter there legally. So I just wanted clarification around that point.
Through you, Your Worship, Councillor, removing the segregation strip will allow access onto the road at that point. Leaving it on prevents it occurring. So just for a bit more clarification. There's your section 4. And section 6 is the green long strip here. The blue section here is segregation strip, but that is being vested as legal road under a separate legislative process. It's technically now under the road.
So you might please, John.
Nobody is going to want to access along the blue section given the contours. Would that be correct, Mr. Higgins?
Through Your Worship, Council, the blue part is going to be legal road under a separate legislative process that's not in this report.
Okay. Any further questions for Wendy? No? Okay. Well, hopefully it's, I should ask for a mover and seconder first. So I'm happy to move. Councillor Wickers, would you like to second? Okay. Okay. Look, hopefully this tidies an issue up, but I would, you know, we are relying that this doesn't create a dangerous situation, and I hope that is the main case. But then on this? No? Okay, so I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you, Wendy. So we now move to my report on page 331. Is there any questions for me on anything there? Councillor Coxhead.
Sorry, this goes back to the last one, if I may, the Whakatane meeting that was held.
Yes.
Where the regional growth fund, is that what it's called?
Regional Infrastructure Fund.
Infrastructure Fund. When will we get any more information on what we can apply for as a council?
Right, so just a second. So the reality was, and there's been extensive discussions on this through the Mail Forum, the criteria are such that it's actually very difficult for councils to get their own projects in, because instead of being grants, the intention is to have it as equity or debt. And so it mostly has to have a sort of commerciality aspect to it, which kind of rules out most of what council does. So our role is more along the lines of supporting others, and there was indication from a number of people, both at the summit and separately, of things that they want to do, and we can support those as necessary. There's one particular project, I don't think it's appropriate to mention it right now, but I have written a letter of support, and that application is likely to go ahead. Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Daly.
Just following on from Tracy's question, have Priority One been involved in identifying projects?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they've kind of led the process with the Bay of Plenty councils. There's a number of projects out east as well. So some of their geothermal and so on is kind of a bit more suitable for this kind of project or fund. But yes, they've been involved. Yeah.
So in terms of our input to Priority One, how's that been happening?
Well, Priority One have been leading the Western Bay sub-region's response to this.
So you can confirm that our council and senior staff have had a good input into that?
Yes, we have. Yes, we've and myself personally have tried to get or put forward ideas that could be included, and there's one that's looking reasonably promising, but early stages yet.
Did you want to add some context, John?
Not really. I guess just to reiterate, being discussed quite widely at the Mayoral Forum. As the Mayor said, there does need to be a certain sense of, or certain aspect of commerciality to them. They are looking for funding to be repaid. So, for instance, is there some sort of tourist attraction, but that can be enabled, but some infrastructure needs to be put in place where you could get some money back to pay for that infrastructure. It's those sorts of projects they're looking for. The one that the Mayor is referring to, I agree, we probably shouldn't talk about it yet because I'm not sure that it is public. But we're involved in, for instance, looking at the cost of some infrastructure that would support it. So, we're looking at it. Senior staff have been involved. Our roading people have been involved. We're making sure that resource consenting would be okay. So we're involved at that sort of level at the early stage.
Sorry, just final question. In our projects and monitoring agenda on 3rd of September, there was reference made to this, and it says, in addition, Priority One, together with other economic development agencies across the Bay of Plenty, is facilitating an agreed shortlist of projects for consideration for funding the Regional Infrastructure Fund. So I'm just wondering what other economic development agencies have been involved in this process.
It's been complicated because some of the councils in the east have withdrawn from their EDAs. So some of them are going it alone. I'll just say that I'm glad we have Priority One representing us.
Just finally, I guess, was Te Puke Economic Development Group involved in this process?
Not directly, as far as I'm aware. It was a more sub-regional approach taken. But Nigel may have reached out to Mark. I don't know the full details, but it's quite possible. Okay. If there's nothing else, then I'm happy to move the recommendation to receive that report. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Granger. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. So item 12, information receipt. There is none. So moving on to the confidential section. So do I have a mover and seconder to move